Night was approaching quickly. The shadows deepened in the car park behind Alvin's headquarters. The light shone above the long table where the investigators reviewed the case after their first day's work. Azizu checked his wristwatch with a start. "I'll have to go home soon," he moaned. "Dad will go ballistic if I'm not back in time for his karaoke." Arpita laughed. "Azizul, I suppose you sing too?" Azizul remembered that Arpita had a beautiful singing voice. He felt his cheeks redden. "Sometimes," he muttered awkwardly, heading for the door. The last thing he wanted was for Arpita to hear how badly he sang. When Azizul was gone, Alvin addressed the team. "We've made some progress today, but obviously not enough to prove Howard Chiam isn't a murderer." Rafe scowled. "I'm worried about Dr. Karim leaving town. Once he's back in Egypt, we won't be able to question him again." Mas agreed. "You'd think Sergeant Sue would insist on him staying longer? At least until the case is solved?" Wailing cleaned her glasses. "He can't. Dr. Karim is a foreign citizen. Unless the sergeant thinks he's a killer, he has to let him go." Alvin grunted. "As far as the sergeant's concerned, he thinks the case is solved." Arpita gazed around her friends. "What about Professor Hua's secretary?" She speculated. "Miss Ang worries me. She definitely knows something." "Question is," Alvin asked, his fingers drumming on the table, "how do we find out what it is?" Rafe rose to his feet. "My father is taking me to dinner at his club tonight. I should get home." He turned to the girls. "I will walk you out to the main road." After dangerous chase in the past, Alvin, Rafe, and Azizu believed that the car park and surrounding lanes were too dimly lit for safety. "Alvin, aren't you coming too?" Wailing asked as she left with the others. Alvin walked them to the door. "I've got some thinking to do. Let's get back on the case tomorrow," he said. "Maybe we'll see things differently after a good night's sleep." When his friends were gone, Alvin closed the door and returned to the table. He leaned back in his chair, letting his first impressions swirl in his mind. Then he reached for a large sheet of paper and a pen. He wrote slowly, firmly. Questions. Who poisoned Professor Hua? What was the killer's motive? Why was Howard Chiam framed? Why had Dr. Karim come all the way from Egypt to visit Professor Hua? Why isn't Miss Ang telling us? He taped the chart to the wall and stepped back to examine it. He added a final question. What do we really know about Professor Hua? He ran his gaze over the questions again. He felt he was starting into a void. He was staring into a void. What he needed more than anything was more information than more time. More time to investigate Dr. Karim and Miss Ang. More time to discover where the poison had been obtained. More time to probe the nature of Dr. Karim's visit to Hua. When his cell phone began chirping, Alvin stood it up. The caller ID displayed an unfamiliar number. "Alvin So," he responded. A woman's reedy voice crackled on the line. "This is Angela Ang." Alvin sat bolt upright, his curiosity fired. "Oh, hi," Alvin said. "How can I help?" Miss Ang cut in. "I've just been talking to Dr. Karim. He called me to complain." "How dare you accuse him of murder?" Alvin was stunned. "We didn't." "He seemed to think you did," the secretary accused him. "All we said was that Dr. Chiam is innocent." Alberto laughed. You must be out of your mind. Dr. Tarim is a very distinguished visitor. I can't see why you are persecuting him, when everyone knows Howard Cham is the killer. Alvin sharpened his tone. Something about that call did not ring true. Exactly why are you calling me, Miss Ang? Because I don't think you have any right to falsely accuse people of murder. You don't have any evidence against Dr. Karim, do you? No, Alvin replied, unable to resist the chance. He added, Not yet. Don't be ridiculous, Miss Ang shouted into the phone. Dr. Karim had nothing to do with Professor Hua's death. You are just a troublemaker. Not at all, ma'am, Alvin returned smoothly. I just don't like the idea of an innocent man being charged with a crime he didn't commit. I'm going to lodge a complaint about you with the police. Miss Ang swore. We'll see what they have to say. The line ran dead. Alvin set down his cell phone and began pacing the room, his mind racing. He certainly set the cat among the pigeons, he thought. Why was Angela Ang so determined to protect the man from Cairo? What connection did they have, he wondered, or did Professor Hua's secretary have some other agenda? Deep in thought, he switched off the light, locked up his headquarters, and walked home. Only when he reached home and stepped inside the apartment, he remembered that his mother was going out to see a movie with Sergeant Sue. Alvin grilled some cheese sandwich. He watched the late news on TV. The professor's murder was the first item. A photograph of Chiam followed shots of police activity at the university. It seemed that the young man was being judged guilty even before he went on trial. Alvin watched his mood darken. More than ever, what he needed now was a breakthrough. Something would turn the case on its head.